Television. My name is Sarashan Hori. We'll begin with the headlines. President Paul Kagame has chaired a cabinet meeting here in Kigali. Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation is on an official visit in Kazakhstan. And U.S. President Donald Trump has rebuked Russian President Vladimir Putin after another weekend of Russian missile and drone attacks on Ukraine. Thank you for taking the time to join us. Now, as we just noted, President Paul Kagame chaired a cabinet meeting here in Kigali today, Monday. Now, I'll read you the official communique of that meeting. On Monday, the 26th of May 2025, His Excellency Paul Kagame, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, chaired a cabinet meeting at Village Rugwiro. The cabinet discussed strategies to boost private sector investment, increase exports, and streamline the public investment portfolio. The cabinet approved a data sharing policy aimed at establishing a unified framework for secure, efficient, and legally compliant data sharing across public institutions. The cabinet approved ratifications of bilateral air service agreements between the government of Rwanda and the governments of 12 countries, those being Eswatini, Guinea, Liberia, Malawi, Mali, Zimbabwe, Georgia, France, Poland, Oman, Suriname, and Canada. The cabinet approved periodic reports of Rwanda on the implementation of international human rights treaties. The cabinet approved a ministerial order regarding guardianship of a child by the state and inter-country adoption. In another business, the Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources informed Cabinet of the 18th National Agriculture Show scheduled at Murindi, Kigali, from June the 18th to the 27th, 2025. The Minister of Trade and Industry informed Cabinet of the 2025 International Organization for Standardization ISO annual meeting scheduled in Kigali from October the 6th to the 10th, 2025. This communique is dated the 26th of May, 2025, and is signed by Dr. Edouard Ngirente, the Prime Minister of Rwanda. Again, as we noted in the headlines, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Ambassador Olivier Nduhungirehe, is on an official visit in Kazakhstan, where he has held talks with the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of that country. Minister Nduhungirehe's visit precedes the upcoming two-day state visit of President Paul Kagame, scheduled to begin on Wednesday. The ministers discussed a wide range of issues covering political, economic, cultural, and humanitarian relations. Particular attention was paid to cooperation in key sectors such as trade, logistics, the defense industry, and digitalization. The two sides also reaffirmed their readiness to continue efforts to improve the legal framework and strengthen the practice of mutual visits at various levels. It was also noted that considering the increasing role of the Trans-Caspian international transport route in the interconnectedness of global markets, the importance of developing transit and logistic routes between the two countries and their respective regions should be emphasized. Proposals were made on organizing mutual trade missions to encourage business contacts and promote direct interaction between the chambers of commerce in both countries. Taking into account Kazakhstan's achievements in the e-government system and the Smart Rwanda initiative, the parties considered the prospects of cooperation between companies in the IT sector, including on the basis of the Astana Hub, Asia's Central's largest tech park. In addition, views were exchanged on current regional and global issues, and an agreement was made to maintain an active interaction between the two ministers of Foreign Affairs. Following the meeting, the importance of strengthening the partnership was underscored, and both parties confirmed their commitment to further joint efforts to implement the agreements reached. Now, experts in the aviation sector and frequent air travelers believe that the partnership between Rwanda and Qatar Airways will help bridge the significant gap in air transport across the African continent. We have the details with Anola Gladys Benimana.
Through its partnership with Qatar Airways, The Rwanda national airline Rwandair now reaches 107 destinations across the globe. This development has been welcomed by many, including business people who travel abroad, for goods and ticketing service providers. The Commissioner for Economy, Trade and Finance in the Economic Community of Central African States, ECAS, François Kanimba, who is based in Gabon, says that it takes him about 2 hours by plane to travel around the region due to the limited number of flight connections. However, he is optimistic about Rwandair, which is expanding its routes to many destinations around the world. Rwandair CEO Yvonne Makolo says a final agreement will be signed soon. However, she confirms that the existing cooperation with Qatar Airways is already yielding results.
5 cities in the U.S. through our extended codeshare with Qatar Airways. So we connect our passengers via Doha to the U.S. We're putting that capacity on more of the eastern and southern routes in terms of adding additional frequencies. And we're looking at opening new routes. I think more immediate, I think the first ones which are coming is Mombasa and Zanzibar.
Business and tax expert Devendra Pratap Singh believes the partnership is beneficial for both sides.
And if they had chosen Rwanda as one of the best places on the continent, not only in the continent, in the world prospect, so I see that it is good for the country and good for them also. Rwanda being the continent, somehow having expertise on this side, can be like another win-win model again, where Rwanda can penetrate and can connect further, as Rwanda will be like hub for connecting rest of the world, can go here and there, then the small destinations.
Prime Minister Dr. Edward Nyirenhe recently highlighted that Rwandair is becoming a key player in providing air travel solutions across the African continent.
We are proud of the progress made by Rwandair in connecting Africa to the world as one of the fastest growing airlines. It now serves 107 destinations, including direct routes and additional routes through codeshare partnerships. I therefore take this opportunity to thank Rwandair leadership and the staff for their dedication to growing the airline despite challenges affecting the aviation industry in general, both at regional and global levels. Their commitment has not only strengthened the airline's position, but has also played a key role in inspiring the next generation of aviation. In this regard, we are happy to note the growing interest of young people in aviation. For instance, we are informed that this year alone, Rwandair received nearly 2,000 applications for its pilot cadet program, and this is a very good progress.
The 2025 report by the Rwanda Development Board shows that the volume of exports transported by Rwandair to international markets increased by 33% compared to what was transported in 2023. By the end of 2024, Rwandair announced that its revenue had increased by 82% compared to what it earned in 2022.
Now, internal auditors from across Africa are underscoring the importance of collaboration with governments in improving public financial management policies. We have the details with Adams Kwizera.
These internal auditors raise the need for stronger partnerships with the state institutions to ensure effective public resource management. However, local internal auditors in Rwanda pointed out the need for a dedicated legal framework governing the internal audit profession, something they say would formalize their operations and reinforce professionalism.
That all internal audit affiliates in Africa should have that role that connects the affiliates to the government, so that the government, we should be having that bond, that relationship between the government and the affiliates, so that they can be able to fund the projects, the needs, the workshops like this one, the capacity building of our people without asking why are you joining the internal audit institutes, why not another one. So that's the law we are making with the support of the government. This will regulate how the internal audit profession do. What the scope, what is the independence internal auditor should have, what the authority and responsibilities of internal auditors in their respective organizations. So internal auditors have to add value, but adding value with that protection of the law. How can you challenge the management? How can you challenge the board? How can you challenge the status quo of your employer? So that's why the law should be put in place to govern all those things that can affect our profession of internal audit.
This is reiterated by other internal auditors from various African countries who emphasize that with strong government support, the internal audit profession could achieve higher standards, provided this is also matched with adequate capacity building.
Yes, sometimes the internal audit must to improve his skill set, because nowadays, as you know, we have AI and artificial intelligence, and also ESG, that all the people are focused on safe on ESG by embedding this culture. As you know, this culture, we don't know it before, so that's why Africa, we have to move to the one voice, one vision.
Ruth Doreen Mutebe, chairperson of the African Federation of Institutes of Internal Auditors, noted that close cooperation between auditors and government is crucial. She emphasized that both parties must recognize their joint responsibility in managing and monitoring the use of public resources.
All internal auditors report to the board, which is the highest governing body within any institution, be it private sector or public sector. And they are the people that appraise the performance of internal auditors. They are the ones that approve resources for internal auditors and how they work. They are the people that make strategic decisions within the organization. And why are they important? It's because the internal auditors work with leaders in governance to make sure that institutions achieve what they set out to do. So if it's a private sector, it will be a business objective. If it's public sector, it will be for the good of the citizens. So if we put our minds together and discuss with the decision makers, we will be on the same page and we will know the most important things to support to grow private institutions, but to also improve accountability and service delivery to the citizenry.
Alex Kamuhire, the Auditor General, added that collaboration between internal auditors and the government of Rwanda has already produced concrete results, particularly in improving the financial statements of public institutions.
And yet, good governance does not happen by accident. It is a choice. It is a discipline. And it is a system that must be constantly implemented, assessed, and improved. This is where internal audit plays a very important role. In public sector, government of Rwanda has recognized this role a long time ago, and the internal auditors of Rwanda are playing a very critical role in improving the public financial management. It recently elevated the position of the executive head of internal audit in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning to the position of internal auditor general.
Beyond discussions on governance and institutional collaboration, the conference attended by over 1,000 internal audit professionals also stressed the importance of transparency and tackling corruption within their respective organizations.
Now, as the demand for transparency and accountability in public finance grows across Africa, leaders are calling for stronger partnerships to safeguard public interest. Ruth Doreen Mutebe, the chairperson of the African Federation of Institutions of Internal Auditors, has noted that close cooperation between auditors and governments is crucial. She has also emphasized that both parties must recognize their joint responsibility in managing and monitoring the use of public resources. Take a look.
And we are part of a much larger family of internal auditors across the world. We're affiliated to the Global Institute of Internal Auditors, and we are proud to have the chair of the Global Board of Directors, Ms. Terry Grafenstein, together with us in this conference. AFIA is a large family. We have presence in 29 out of the 54 countries across the continent, and we are working with 11 additional countries to increase the footprint of AFIA. And the family comprises over 22,000 members of internal auditors in the public sector and the private sector. And the reason we come together every year is for us to develop ourselves, to discuss matters that will enhance governance, risk management, and internal control within the institutions in the private sector and the public sector. So with us here today at the Kigali Convention Center, we have over 1,000 delegates that have come from different countries across Africa, from different parts of the world, including the Middle East, including Asia. They have come here so that together we deliberate and make our own motherland, Africa, a better place. We have the Governance Forum, which will run for 2 days, and it is running concurrently with the university. And then from Wednesday to Friday, we'll have the Internal Auditors Conference. So in the Governance Forum is where we have leaders, decision makers, people that are in charge of policy making, are in charge of making strategy in the private sector. So why the Governance Forum? All internal auditors report to the board, which is the highest governing body within any institution, be it private sector or public sector. And they are the people that appraise the performance of internal auditors. They are the ones that approve resources for internal auditors and how they work. They are the people that make strategic decisions within the organization. And why are they important? It's because the internal auditors work with leaders in governance to make sure that institutions achieve what they set out to do. So if it's a private sector, it will be a business objective. If it's public sector, it will be for the good of the citizens. So if we put our minds together and discuss with the decision makers, we will be on the same page and we will know the most important things to support to grow private institutions, but also improve accountability and service delivery to the citizenry. On the African continent, it's a journey. I will say we have moved strides. We are not where we want to be, but we are seeing improvements and we are seeing good collaboration between internal auditors, between members of the board, between policymakers, between members of parliament. And in our presence today, we actually have the Auditor General of the Republic of Rwanda. We have internal Auditor Generals from different countries. We have members of parliament from about 3 countries. We have retired ambassadors in our midst. So you can see that over time we have grown in collaboration so that internal audit can make the contribution that we have to do in the space of governance. Definitely before, there were challenges in terms of what's the role of internal audit vis-a-vis the role of what other professionals do within the same space. And of course, internal audit is a unique profession. Our premier qualification is the certificate in internal auditing, which we abbreviate as the CIA. So if somebody goes through the CIA, they will appreciate the role and responsibility of internal audit. They will be able to do that professionally. So if somebody has not interacted with internal auditors, they will pretty much probably not know what they are expected to do, because it's a collaboration, meaning internal auditors contribute to the discussion, but there's a responsibility for those that are in charge of governance, the leaders. So through these engagements, they are able to also appreciate what their responsibility is, what the responsibility of internal auditors is. We talk about our challenges and we find solutions not only to our own profession, but to generally the public sector, to the private sector. We live better as internal auditors, and also the leaders in governance also live better because they will be aware of what is happening within the country where we usually go, but also what is happening across Africa, what is happening across the world, and how that impacts their organizations. And therefore, what is it that they need to do after knowing what the emerging trends are. Of late, we talk about cybersecurity, artificial intelligence. We are talking about the increasing needs of the youth. And how do we bring them into governance? And how do we develop ourselves generally and thrive in an environment that is quite changing and challenging?
Now, moving on, the management of the Rwanda Forensic Institute has announced that in the near future, it will begin implementing plans to establish branches in the provinces with the aim of making its services more accessible to the public. Due to the large number of people coming from various parts of the country to seek services at this institution here in Kigali, concerns have been voiced over the effect that could have on the quality of its services. The move to expand into the provinces is therefore being seen as a solution. The branches will be located in the districts of Rusizi and Rubavu in the western province, Huye in the southern province, Musanze in the northern province, while in the eastern province, branches will be set up in Rwamagana and Bugesera, the latter being the district where a large new international airport is under construction. The Ministry of National Unity and Civic Engagement has announced that the number of people visiting memorial sites of the genocide against the Tutsi here in Rwanda has nearly doubled since UNESCO inscribed some of them on the World Heritage List. The 4 genocide memorials that were inscribed, those being the Kigali Genocide Memorial at Gisozi and those at Nyamata, Murambi and Bisesero, were officially added to the World Heritage List on the 20th of September back in 2023. Visitors say the memorials have helped them to gain a deeper understanding of the history of the genocide against the Tutsi, and that they are pleased that these sites are now recognized as part of the world's heritage. The inclusion of the memorials on the World Heritage List also led to enhanced training for staff, equipping them with the knowledge needed to better manage and preserve the sites. The Ministry of National Unity and Civic Engagement notes that international recognition of the memorials has made it easier to promote awareness campaigns aimed at educating people about Rwanda's history. According to data from Minimum in 2022, the 4 memorial sites on the World Heritage List received 101,555 visitors, and the majority of whom were foreigners, that is 54,845, while Rwandans accounted for around 46,600. By 2024, visits to these memorials had risen to over 190,000 visitors, with foreigners making up 120,055 and Rwandans being 73,361 in total. Now, Rwandans living in Cameroon have gathered to commemorate the 31st anniversary of the genocide against the Tutsi here in Rwanda back in 1994, calling on the international community to learn from Rwanda's history to ensure that such genocide never happens again. The remembrance event brought together over 200, over 200 people, including Rwandans, Cameroonians, and foreigners working with international organizations in the country. It began with a remembrance walk that concluded at the venue where the main commemoration event took place. Attendees also observed a moment of silence to remember those who were killed during the genocide against the Tutsi, held a prayer, and lit a flame of remembrance and hope. In her testimony, Asia Wase, a survivor from Rwampara here in Kigali, shared how she lost her siblings and her mother. She urged young people, both Rwandans and foreigners, to resist those who incite division, emphasizing that such divisive ideologies once devastated Rwanda. The head of the Rwandan community in Cameroon, Yusuf Wamahoro, pointed out that commemorating the genocide is not only a way to honor the victims, but also to draw lessons that compel everyone to work together, ensuring that such atrocities are never repeated. He strongly condemned those who continue to harbor and spread genocidal ideologies, especially pointing out the FDLR terrorist group operating in the eastern DRC in collaboration with that country's government. Emim Ndihokubwayo, the representative of the UN coordinator in Cameroon, thanked the Rwandan community for organizing the event. She emphasized that the world must draw lessons from the tragic history of the genocide against the Tutsi here in Rwanda, and that everyone must actively combat the spread of hate speech.
nkiri muto arababwiraga data bati ntabwo wagira umukamo mwinshi utunze inka imwe, ariko nigeze acika intege. Mama akinjira mu bucuruzi hari abamubwiraga bati ntabwo watera imbere udakorera mu iduka rigezweho, ariko ntibyamusubije inyuma, yakoranaga umwete. Njya muri kaminuza hari abanshidikanyagaho bavuga ko nashobora kaminuza naturuka mu muryango wifashije, ariko byaragiye nanditse amateka mashya. Igihe cyo gutera ishema umuryango wanjye kigeze, bamwe bakomeje kumbwira bati ntabwo watera umuryango wawe ibyishimo n'ishema, ariko narabishoboye. Hari abakekaga ko nasigira umurage ukomeye abankomokaho, ariko ubu mfite uruganda rutunganya amata. Banki ya Kigali yabaye umufatanyabikorwa wanjye mu rugendo rwose, inzozi zanjye ziba impamo. Bigereho.
During life's moments, laying hoops, giving away, making moves, breakfast with family. Inyanje is always there. Whatever the occasion, whatever the moment, always ask for Inyanje.
US President Donald Trump has rebuked Russian President Vladimir Putin after another weekend of Russian missile and drone attacks on Ukraine. On Saturday night into Sunday, Russia fired 367 drones and missiles at Ukraine, killing at least 12 people. The attacks continued on Sunday night into Monday, including in Kiev. President Trump has also criticized Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. BBC News with the details.
President Trump arriving in New Jersey last night seemed to have lost patience with the Russian president.
Yeah, I'll give you an update. I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all.
Despite US-led efforts to secure a ceasefire, Russia has ramped up its attacks on Ukraine. Hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles were launched on Kyiv and 30 other Ukrainian cities over the weekend in the largest attack since the war began 3 years ago. According to Ukrainian officials, 12 people died, including 3 children from one family, killed in the northwest Zhytomyr region. Stanislav, aged 8, Tamara, 12, and Roman, 17. It's led Ukraine's President Zelensky to call for stronger condemnation from Washington. He said on social media, Russia is dragging out this war and continues to kill every day. He continued, this cannot be ignored. Silence of America, silence of others around the world only encourages Putin. Speaking yesterday, the US president reiterated that sanctions were still a possibility.
You've talked before about putting more sanctions on Russia. Is that something you're considering more seriously?
Absolutely. He's killing a lot of people. I don't know what's wrong with him.
There's pressure on the president to act. The US Senate is planning to approve a massive sanctions package on Moscow, which could impose 500% tariffs on Russia's allies. It has support from Republicans and Democrats. But last night, the US president also had strong words for President Zelensky, saying that he was doing his country no favors by talking the way he does. He added, everything out of his mouth causes problems. I don't like it, and it better stop. The worsening situation on the ground comes even as Kyiv and Moscow completed their biggest prisoner exchange since the start of the war. Ukrainian prisoners arrived home yesterday. Similar scenes in Russia. 1,000 soldiers on each side have been swapped over the past 3 days. But those scenes of joy are yet to be witnessed across Ukraine's cities, where the bombardment continues. Aruna Iyengar, BBC News.
The moment that Ocean Gate's Titan submersible was lost has been revealed in footage recorded on the sub's support ship. Titan imploded about 90 minutes into a descent to see the wreck of the Titanic in June 2023, killing all 5 people on board. BBC once more.
It was a trip that turned to tragedy. A submersible heading to the Titanic 3,800 meters down. But Ocean Gate's Titan sub suffered a catastrophic failure, killing all 5 people on board. They were British explorer Hamish Harding, Suleiman Dawood and his father, British-Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dawood, French diver P.H. Nargiolais and Stockton Rush, Ocean Gate's CEO. The US Coast Guard's Marine Board of Investigation is looking into the disaster. Footage they recently discovered from Titan's support ship has been submitted as evidence for their investigation.
You will hear a noise that is external to the ship, or external to the room, I should say, and you will see their reaction to the noise.
Stockton Rush's wife Wendy is waiting for messages from the sub as it nears the sea floor.
What was that, right?
So at that point she said, what was that bang? What was that bang? I'm going to back up and play it one more time. It sounds like a door slamming.
Yeah. What was that, right?
The noise is a sound of Titan imploding, but moments later, Wendy Rush gets a message from the sub.
Drop 2 weights. Titan, drop 2 weights.
She mistakenly seems to think everything's okay, but in fact it's taken longer for the message to arrive than the sound of the implosion. Everyone on board is dead. The US Coast Guard says it has also now identified the moment the sub started to fail. This is a full-scale model of the Titan submersible. At the front there's a titanium dome with a viewport, and at the rear is another dome covered by a towel cone. The passengers were in this middle section, the hull. It's made from carbon fibre, a material that's highly unpredictable at depth. The hull is 5 inches, 13 centimetres thick, and it's made up of multiple layers. But these layers can come apart, a known problem called delamination. The sub was fitted with multiple sensors, and in 2022, during Titan's 80th dive, they picked up a loud bang. Stockton Rush said the noise was probably the sub shifting in its frame, but analysis of the data now shows this was the layers of carbon fibre breaking apart. Every dive after this one was a disaster waiting to happen.
Their system said there has been a fundamental change in the material of your carbon fibre, and it was no longer structurally sound. Delamination at dive 80 was the beginning of the end. And everyone that stepped on board the Titan after dive 80 was risking their life.
Ocean Gate have told the BBC, "We again offer our deepest condolences to the families of those who died." Ocean Gate permanently wound down its operations and focused its resources on fully cooperating with the investigations being conducted. They said it would be inappropriate to respond further while we await the agency's reports. The disaster happened in a split second, but the ramifications continue. The US Coast Guard will publish their full report in the coming months. Rebecca Morrell, BBC News.
Now, before we conclude this edition of the news, let us again take a quick look at the headlines. President Paul Kagame has chaired a cabinet meeting here in Kigali. Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation is on an official visit to Kazakhstan. And US President Donald Trump has rebuked Russian President Vladimir Putin after another weekend of Russian missile and drone attacks on Ukraine. We've come to the end of the edition. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Do join us again next time. It will be with Martina Avera. I'll be seeing you soon after that. Goodbye.